The following topics contain disturbing material involving murder, stalking, conspiracies, and much worse. However,
the stories and information posted here are artistic works of fiction and falsehood. Only a fool would take anything posted here as fact.
Every post on 4chan is identified with a number, rather than using usernames or pseudonyms. This allows a feeling of quick anonymity that has attracted vast popularity online. It allows users to post their genuine feelings, often frustration, about daily topics and discussion points. However, for many users, the number that's stamped onto each reply can become a game. A post ending in 2 of the same number is called dubs, 3 of the same number being trips, so on and so forth, with each post number changing wildly. This makes the game more fun as getting these numbers is often very rare, though not impossible. The way this works is that the number is not actually randomly generated, but rather, it shows that you are the nth comment on that specific 4chan board. Some are capable of using this information to their advantage, but for most users, it is a lottery draw. Emily Sander was an 18-year-old student who accompanied herself with a busy life. College student, secretary, and adult film star. Only her closest friends knew of her adult films online, as she kept this a secret from the world. But her secret would be brought to light after November 24th, 2007, when Emily Sander would suddenly go missing. The media would pick up this story, displaying it across the nation as missing porn star, resulting in unfortunate misguidance and a poor execution of assistance. However, only 6 days would pass until Emily's body was discovered, all because of a post on 4chan.
If anyone can correctly guess their own post number, I will tell you where she is buried.
Only minutes later, users would begin playing this disturbing game, and not even 15 minutes would pass, and a user successfully guesses their number.
Winner, here you go.
The OP would post coordinates that lead to a location only 50 miles away from where Emily Sander had attended college in El Dorado, Kansas. 1 hour would pass, and missing student's body apparently found. It would come to light that the OP who started this disturbing game on 4chan was 24-year-old Israel Morales. The two had met up at a bar on the night of November 23rd, and it would be the last time Emily was seen alive. Blood was found in Israel's motel room, as she had been stabbed multiple times before being strangled with a phone cord. Her body was buried. The items used to attack her had been disposed at Israel's current girlfriend's house, and Israel would flee the country to Mexico. He would stay there with his at-the-time girlfriend, who was only 16 and pregnant with Israel's child. Israel would be caught only a month later, expedited back to the United States, and would be charged and convicted of murder. He is still currently serving his sentence of life in prison without possibility of parole. It's hard to say whether the body would have been found in time, but the fact that Israel couldn't keep his mouth shut and decided to boast about it like a game on 4chan goes to show how ignorant he was of his own actions. If he had simply kept his ego in check and his mouth shut, Emily's body may have taken weeks, months, possibly years to be found, and Israel may have been able to get away with it if he had not made a post about it on 4chan. Home security, an idea to help homeowners sleep at night, whether from the next room or cities away. One click of a button, and you can have the feed of your entire house streamed right to your phone or monitor. A concept so simple that it almost felt too good to be true. Unfortunately, for some people, it truly was too good to be true. It would be discovered that TrendNet cameras had accessible IP addresses, meaning anyone who typed in your IP address could now watch you. Wherever you had your TrendNet camera placed, hundreds of people online could then watch your personal livelihood without you ever knowing. What was supposed to be bringing the feeling of security and safety to homeowners was now exposing their most personal moments onto the internet by accident. Threads were dedicated to this very topic. Someone would find out a single mother was undressing on camera, and her IP address was posted for dozens to watch. This bug in the security would result in other available cameras being found. 2 days after the bug was discovered, it was speculated that a list containing over 1,000 camera addresses were leaked on Pastebin, and this list was posted to both Reddit and 4chan. By the end of the week, the Pastebin list had already received nearly 90,000 views. The first one I tried showed a child's playpen, a nanny cam or something. I immediately shut the window and regret fucking with this. I thought it would be parking lots and skyscrapers and shit, not residential cameras. Redditors would contact mods and customer care of TrendNet to report this disturbing discovery. 4chan users would attempt to trace home addresses to the cameras so they could either call their phones or order them pizza. Duality of the internet, I suppose. Finally, at the end of the month, TrendNet would announce an update to the software that addressed the bug. They would send emails to their customers and post it in their monthly newsletter about how customers needed to update their software. But if a customer never updated, if they never received the email or got a newsletter, their personal livelihood would remain live streamed for the entire internet to watch. And they would never know.
Hello, I'm Leonard Nimoy. The following tale of alien encounters is true, and by true, I mean false. It's all lies, but they're entertaining lies, and in the end, isn't that the real truth? The answer is no.
In February of 2017, an image would be uploaded to 4chan that would change the course of the website's conspiracies for years to come. The image contained what most would describe as a reptilian humanoid standing in the desert, and the description would read as follows.
24489. Taken approximately 24 miles northwest of Luke Air Force Base, Phoenix, Arizona. Lab H4C.
And only moments later, the entire website itself would go down, claiming server issues. But when the site came back, the image, along with the thread, would be gone, wiped from the database. Users who were capable of capturing a glance of the thread would begin spreading this information like wildfire. From the politically incorrect board to the paranormal board, 4chan went down to a live leak of real aliens caught on camera. But with the database being wiped, the image was gone. Or so people thought. Speculations began as the information was now suddenly in high demand. One user went into vast detail, stating, "The alien's head was seen from the left side, and it was looking to the left in the picture and slightly at the camera, almost diagonally. I did see the alien, yellow scales, black eyes, with small pursed lips. I thought it was a shield thread, so I didn't open it, but I saw the pic. The ALML looked like it had scales all over and was dark in color. Its eyes looked like dried up prunes and had human-like features, but much smaller in comparison to its head." This, of course, was also debated. Soon, images would pop up in random areas, stating that this image was the real one. Others would denounce that image as fake before posting the quote-unquote actual image. Then, That image would be labeled as fake, and another one would be posted. This cycle would end up becoming a meme, and the topic itself wouldn't result in anything other than numerous photos appearing everywhere, all stating that they were the real one, and every other image was false. But the event would only become stranger, as any time someone would post the original image, their thread would be instantly deleted, and they would become temporarily banned from 4chan. This was not due to replicated threads or anything of that nature, as, at the time, the original image and thread were still unseen by the majority of 4chan users. So, it all falls down to two scenarios. Number 1, a user posted classified information or an image that legally should not have been displayed, and 4chan had to go down to avoid legality issues. Users posting illegal material is not uncommon on 4chan. Number 2, a user was aware of server bugs and decided to troll the website, following up with having false replicas made to spread the troll post even further, and mods on 4chan played along by adding hype to the troll post, by deleting new threads and banning users who mentioned it. August 2013. A user would come to 4chan with a recent ongoing personal disturbance. What was supposed to be a simple task of house sitting for some family friends would turn into a horrific experience. Anon was being stalked. For the past week and a half, I've been watching the house of some family friends while they've been out of town. It's a smallish house in a good neighborhood, and though there have been break-ins in the past, they have mostly been to cars parked on the street. These incidences have been few and far between, and have been nothing more than petty thefts. The house I'm watching has 3 dogs, 2 of which are large but would be worthless in some kind of home invasion situation. It is a pretty easy job, and along with watering plants and letting the dogs out 2 or 3 times a day, I also have to stay at the house every night. Since I'm in college, I really need any money I can get, and this is a pretty easy gig. The dogs are pretty relaxed, but if they sense anything outside, they lose their minds and bark until I check it out. If the doorbell rings, it's as if hell has just come to earth, and they claw at the door, barking their heads off. But other than that, everything has been going well without a hitch, until a few nights ago. Sorry for the backstory, but I feel it's necessary in order to explain why what is happening is so out of the ordinary. As I continue this story, I will label each event as Night 1 and so on and so forth. Night 1. A few nights back, I came back to this house straight from work. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary, and after showering, I lay down and started watching some TV. At roughly 11:40, the dogs began barking at the front windows, which faced the street, which is always a little startling when this happens at night. I thought it might be some cars or people on a late night walk, but the street ends in a cul-de-sac, so I decided to take a look, since there shouldn't be any traffic on the street this late. Luckily, it was just a possum lurking around, so I shut the blinds and laid back down. I continued watching TV when some weird shit happened. The doorbell rang. Just some ding-dong ditchers, right? Well, I went to the front hall and was a little nervous to open the door, so I looked out the side window. Nobody. I told myself it was probably friends of the kid who actually lives there, so I laid down and continued watching TV, and 5 minutes pass. I get up again, check the door, just to find that nobody's there once again. This happens 2 more times about 5 minutes apart. Nothing there each time. At this point, I'm more pissed than scared, so this time, I wait by the window. I wait so that I cannot be seen, but that I have clear view of the doorbell. I wait a few minutes and watch the door, and as I'm about to get up, it happens. The doorbell rings its single high-pitched ding, but nobody was at the door. I am both confused and a bit horrified. How the hell did it ring when it wasn't clicked, and I was staring at the front door the entire time? I get up and open the front door and take a few steps outside. Nothing. I see nothing. I hear nothing. I lock the doors and walk back to the room I was watching TV in. As I sit back down, a strange thought comes to mind. Where are the dogs, and why haven't they barked one time at the bell? I flip every light switch I see as I begin looking for the dogs. I finally find them in the parents' room, all lying in their dog beds. I am relieved that they're fine, but I don't know why they didn't react to a single bell ring. Even stranger was that all of them were clearly awake, as one came up to me as I entered the room and gave me its usual brainlessly happy look. I made one of the larger dogs come with me, and I finally was able to get some sleep. I awoke in the morning and let the dogs out along with my regular morning house duties. I went out the front door to go get the newspaper. They didn't cancel it for some reason. And when I came back to the door, I looked at the doorbell. Nothing was wrong with it, and when I pressed it, it worked perfectly. But there was something different. When I pressed the doorbell, it was profoundly louder and had 2 chimes instead of the single, more faint chime of the one that I kept hearing the night before. I tried pressing it in different ways, trying to recreate the same single chime I heard, but it just wouldn't happen. I gave up and decided to head out to work, just hoping things would be different that night. Well, I got my wish. That night was different, but not in the way I was hoping. Night 2. After work, I got back to the house and decided to watch some TV before bed, as I tend to do most nights. I had almost forgotten about the events of the previous night, but then I was quickly given a reminder. At a few minutes past midnight, the doorbell rang again. 1 single chime. Nothing else. The dogs were, again, silent in the other room, and so I decided to just turn up the TV volume and ignore it. About 5 minutes later, the bell rang again. I continued to ignore it, and I just sat there. Then, something changed. The bell started to ring again, but in shorter intervals. By the 6th ring, I decided to get up and see what the hell was really going on. I searched the rooms leading to the kitchen, and then I came across something really strange. All of the dogs were sitting, staring at the back door. Just sitting there, as if awaiting for someone they knew to walk in the door. At this point, the family was not due back for over a week, so I stood there in terror and watched, waiting for something to appear at the door. I continued standing, fixed in place, for at least another 5 minutes. This whole time, no bell. There was dead silence, except for the sound of cicadas outside. I finally built up the courage to approach the door and see if there was anything outside. My heart slowly stopped racing, and I looked out the window by the door to make sure nobody was out there. But why would the dogs be staring out the back door? I opened the door, turned on the porch light, and tried to convince the dogs to go outside. I had just let them out no longer than 40 minutes before, so I knew they had no business to be outside. I ushered them to go, but they just sat in place. "Come on, go out!" But they just sat there, giving me their stupid blank stares. I looked around from the back porch one last time and went back inside. I locked the door and laid back down. At some point, I finally fell asleep, still wondering where the bell was coming from and who was messing with me. Little did I know, the worst was yet to come. Night 3. I didn't have work the next day, so after I fed the dogs, I went back to my house and stayed there until about 9 that night. Up to this point, I still hadn't told anybody about the bell ringing at night. I just assumed they would think I was overreacting. But this night changed everything. As I pulled into the driveway, I immediately noticed something different. The door to their back garage was slightly ajar, and it definitely wasn't that way when I left that morning. I have this pictured above, but I didn't even consider checking it until the next morning. The lawn care guy wasn't supposed to come for another 2 days, and even then, I doubt he would have needed anything from the garage tool room. So, how the hell was this open? It was not only closed when I left, but I know for a fact that it was locked. One of the dogs had pawed at it a couple of days before, and when I tried to open it, it was clearly locked, and I didn't know where the key was. I closed the gate to the driveway and bolted to the back door. As I approached the door, I noticed something out of the corner of my eye, and my heart sank. To the right of the door, I noticed something that I had somehow missed the past few days. There was a second doorbell, one by the back door. Why the hell would there also be a bell back here? Did I really miss this the whole time I have been here? But here it was. I have it pictured above. I clicked it once, and sure enough, I heard a single chime. The exact chime I'd been hearing the past 2 nights. The backyard is completely shut off, and though it is possible to hop a fence and get back there, the dogs would have surely heard someone try to trespass. But then again, they had been acting strange and not barking to the back bell for some reason. Even stranger, when I tested the back bell, the dogs came barking and ran to the back door, not knowing who was there. So why did they act differently before? I quickly got inside and locked the doors, and went around checking every room just in case somebody was already in there with me. I also locked every window and door to the outside. I brought all the dogs with me to the room I was staying in, and just sat there for a while, trying to make sense of everything. I turned on the TV for a little while and tried to wipe it off from my mind, and before I knew it, it was midnight once again. I hadn't been keeping track of the time as I watched TV, but I was quickly reminded of the time when I heard the single chime of the bell at a few minutes past midnight. It caught me by surprise, and as I jumped up, I noticed all the dogs walking to the back door. I followed them cautiously and slowly crept to look out the back window. There was nothing there, of course. At this point, I was actually hoping to see someone, or something, instead of being in constant fear of what it could actually be. I turned on the back light and scanned the backyard, but I still had the good sense to stay in the kitchen. Then, I saw the garage door I spoke of earlier. It was wide open, as if inviting me to come see what was within. I've seen plenty of horror movies in my day, so I was smart enough to stay within the house. Since it was already cracked earlier, I told myself the wind did it and maybe the bell was just on the fritz. Ringing at the same time every night until I see what is wrong? Yeah, it's totally just a glitch. I went back to my room and I closed the door, trapping the dogs with me. I went to sleep and woke up the next morning, with everything seeming fine. I fed the dogs and brought in the paper, not noticing anything out of the ordinary. But when I let the dogs go out to the backyard, I saw it. The door to the back garage was shut. Night 4. Well, if you're reading this on August 12th, you are currently with me on night 4. It's about an hour to midnight, and so far, there's nothing out of the ordinary. Hopefully nothing eventful will happen tonight, because I can't take much more of this. I've brought a knife with me just in case something happens. I know it's pretty dumb, but it at least provides me with some feeling of security. I talked to my mom this morning, and she called the police to check things out and patrol the neighborhood a little more. Of course, I doubt they will, and they said to just call 911 if anything happens tonight, and they'll do their best to help me out. I'm currently sitting with all the dogs just waiting for it to be midnight. I will keep this thread posted to anything that may or may not happen, assuming I'm not killed or something. Fingers crossed, and I'll get back to you all shortly. OP here. It's currently 11:20 here at the moment. Nothing spooky yet, luckily. I'm seriously wondering what to do. I almost want to leave and drive around till like 1, and come back when whatever it is thinks I'm asleep. Any suggestions on what to do? 11:45 p.m. Status report time. Nothing so far, but it's not quite midnight. The dogs do seem to be pacing in the kitchen now. I can hear their claws on the tile. I don't know why, they're usually asleep by now. The small annoying dog keeps barking at the front and back window, alternating every few minutes. So, yeah, that's promising. I'm still holed up in the room I've been sleeping in, alone at this point. Here's a picture of the front yard from my point of view, in the room. Shit quality, I know, but it's the best I could do at the moment. Seems calm as usual up front, so we'll see if anything happens. I'll keep you all posted. A little past midnight. This is OP. I just got off the phone with the police, and they said they're on the way. So I decided to just wait out in the room and hope nothing would happen tonight. And well, I was very, very wrong. The bell went off, and all the dogs were lined up in front of the door again. You cannot understand how fast and loud my heart was pounding in my chest as I walked to the door with my knife in hand. I crept around the cabinets toward the door, and I saw Nothing. Nobody. So I waited a couple of minutes with clear sight of the door from a secluded area. Nothing happened. I'm practically laying behind a couch near their entertainment room, which has pretty much nothing but windows facing their neighbor's driveway. I can barely even type this next part. I'm freaking out. As I'm lying down watching the back door, I see the dogs leave the kitchen and come to me. They walk by me and lay down next to me, which isn't too weird, and as I'm still watching the door, a thud sounds from directly behind me. It was a single bang, just like the single bell ring. Practically shitting myself, I turn around and look in the dark room, trying not to have a heart attack. I see an old door. It doesn't open, it's sealed shut, and I determine that that is where the noise came from. Even creepier, that's the room I've been sleeping in for most of my nights. The window faces the couch I was sleeping on, until it got too uncomfortable and I just took one of the beds. One more bit of creepiness? Well, I just realized that the night I started sleeping in the bedroom is the night the doorbell started being rung. What the hell does this mean? Is this person telling me to go back to that room and sleep there to be watched? All I do know is that I'm locked in the bedroom with the dogs right now, with my knife next to me, waiting for the cops. I will update you after the cops show up. OP status report. Cops are out front, about to come in, I think. No new noises. I think the cops scared off whoever it was, at least for now. I'm texting my mom and messaging the family now, since I think I pretty much have to now. I will update you when the cops leave. Hang in there. I'll be back. Cops have left. And nothing. The cops found nothing. They chalked it up to nothing more than someone messing with me. Maybe a friend of the family. So basically, they're just trying to get my mind off of it and play it off as a joke or something. But at this point, it has to be something real. Somebody who is not looking to do this kind of thing for fun. The cops said they would patrol this area closely tonight, clearly not informed of the message my mom gave 911 this morning. Okay, I'm done. I am definitely not staying alone here tomorrow. That door. The goddamn door. It's cracked open again. The cops just came and checked it, and it was locked. I'm done. I might call the cops to come back, but with my luck, it will be closed by then, or nothing will be in there. Whoever is doing this is smart. They were watching from somewhere the whole time. They want me outside, but I'm locked in the bedroom again with all the dogs. I put bottles on the doors, thanks for the suggestion. The adrenaline is wearing off, so I'm going to go to sleep now and update anyone who is interested tomorrow night. Check back here at around 11 p.m. or so, Texas time. I'm going to see what the hell is in that garage door in the morning. Why does he want me to go in there? I'm horrified to find out, and I am definitely still going to sleep in this bedroom, no matter how many times this bastard rings the bell. Anyways, here's a decent pic from the kitchen of the cracked door again, but that's as close as I'm getting to outside tonight. I might try and bring a camera too. I need one at this point, just to try and see who the hell is doing this. OP, signing off. OP here. Sorry I haven't posted anything this morning. I'm not dead, and nothing is wrong this morning, luckily. But I did find a new horrifying discovery when it comes to that garage door. I will update you on that tonight. I'm currently at my house, just trying to recover from last night. And I am going back tonight. It's the last night I have to watch that place, so I think I can stick it out once more. The family hasn't returned my message yet, so I am without any answers from them. I will post a new thread later tonight, recapping everything, and I will repost all images and text of the events. If this thread isn't killed by then, I'll post a link to the new thread. Check back at around 11 Texas time for an update. Most of my friends are off to college, but I may ask one or my brother to come check it out, but they probably can't stay all night. As for the camera, yes, I am bringing a better one, but I can't find any good video cams at the moment. I may also do the string thing at the base of the doors and the bottles again to see if it tries to get in tonight. I'll keep you all posted. Night 5, final night. Let me preface this final night by mentioning something that I discovered this morning. When I woke up this morning, I did my house duties as usual, then went to the backyard to see about this garage door that has been a living nightmare for me. it was still open. Not wide open, but cracked like it was the night before, after the officers had left. Even though it was daytime, my heart was pounding as I approached the door, not knowing what I was going to find on the other side. As pictured above, this is what I found. Nothing. Well, almost nothing. The room was full of nothing but yard care tools, and luckily, no bodies, living or dead. But then, I came to a frightening realization as I took my hand off the door. The door slowly closed on its own. Why did this creep me out? Because, as I said a couple nights back, the door was wide open, and there is no possible way for that to happen naturally. The door would have had to been propped open, or even worse, somebody had to have been holding it open from the inside. Also, there was no key in or out of the door, so whoever was opening the door had a key for it. But why would somebody want me to look in there? There is nothing. Was my tormentor staying in there overnight? If so, then for how long? And one last question that is driving me crazy. Is that the only key to this property that he has? It is August 13th and about an hour away from midnight. It was raining on my way over to the house, which is never a good omen for a night like this. Luckily, the rain has passed through, and I don't think it'll rain again tonight. But I still feel no relief from what may or may not come. I have searched the entire property, looking for possible ways in and out of the house. And it looks like I'm sealed up tight in here. The only way in is to break something and clearly alert me. I'm hoping for the best, but expecting the worst. I still have my knife, not old enough to purchase a handgun, but I will be doing so when I come of age after all of this. And I am holing up in a room, alone, again. A friend helped me search earlier, but had to leave about an hour ago, so it's just me, the dogs, my knife, and my phone at the ready to call the cops. I am truly hoping for a peaceful night so that tomorrow it is the family's problem, and not mine. Any advice to ride out the night would be much appreciated, and I will be glued to the thread to update everyone until I eventually pass out. OP here. Fuck it. I'm doing the string and tape idea. I'm out of time. Only about 10 minutes left. I'll post pics as proof, but I'm going back to this room and hiding where I can't be seen. It's clear he knows where I am all the time, so there's no point looking out for him tonight. It's not worth another mild heart attack. No doorbell yet. Maybe that's a good thing, but it might be because he saw me lurking through the house, even though I had the lights off. My camera flash, the porch light, and street lights are the only lights that could have possibly made me visible. Here's the back door strung up. Yes, all locks including the one pictured are firmly locked. Tape is on tight. This is the front door. Sorry if it's hard to see. The string kinda blends, but is good, so if anyone tries to enter, they might not notice. Still no doorbell. Here's the sealed door that I assume I was being watched from. I put it here just in case, since this seemed to be a place he enjoys. I also have a single piece of tape on each door, so that if it is opened, it will, hopefully, fall off, and the intruder won't know where it went. It's not a great plan, but it's something. At least, I'll know if someone came in, hopefully. I'll keep you posted for a while longer. Still, no doorbell. It just happened. What do? I don't want to move, but it doesn't stop until I investigate. The dogs aren't moving this time. It's like they don't even care. What now? Should I just let it keep going until it gets bored? How does this thing know exactly where I am? I am in a room, door closed with the windows all shut. There is absolutely no possible way to see me in here. The bell rang at least 18 times, in much shorter than 5-minute intervals. I honestly lost track. It must have been a ring every couple minutes, and then it sped up to a ring every 10 seconds by the time it was the last doorbell. They kept getting progressively closer together, as if a bomb was ticking faster and faster, about to go off. And then it stopped. Dead silence. I sat there, knife in hand, back to the wall. Then I heard it. A loud slam, as if somebody slapped the wall, with all of their force. The noise came from the other side of the wall, directly behind my head. I'm not gonna lie. I screamed, and I swear I almost fainted and became very lightheaded. I've moved to another room, and I'm practically in tears. I've dialed the cops. I desperately need their help. I'm still posting. I'm not dead. I need this to keep my mind off of it, even if it's just for a second. The other side of the wall was in the driveway, but this was on the other side of the gate from the backyard, where the doorbell is. So it rang the doorbell, then hopped a fence or something, then slammed the wall. But I should have heard it hop the fence. It's old and creaky. Cops aren't here yet. When they get here, I'm in my car and gone. The dogs can deal with this shit. It doesn't seem to give a shit either way about them. The cops showed up finally. I saw their lights flashing. No siren though, through the cracks in the blinds in this room. I met them at the front door, locked both locks, and told them to follow me to my car behind the gate. I have a remote gate opener. I waited for them to search the back a bit, and they went into the garage room, which was still open. Nothing. They looked everywhere they could on the outside, and I told them I was leaving. I didn't bother having them check inside. I honestly can't even bring myself to walk near that house again tonight. None of the strings were off that I could see as I fled the house. So, I didn't see a point to have them piss off the dogs and bother them. From their arrival to my departure, it must have only been 10 minutes at the most. I was so done with that house. Also, a note about the dogs. When the wall was hit, they were startled but didn't bark or seem to care that much. How? Yet, when the cops came, they were barking at the door before the cops even reached the door. I don't know. Hell, I may never know what happened here tonight. I am coming back to get the rest of my things in the morning, and I will give you a final wrap-up, especially if I find anything out of the ordinary. I'm at a stop sign in a well-lit street writing this now. I will post when I get home, before I crash for the night. All that matters is that I'm okay, only very shaken up. The cops were there when I left, for those who were wondering. I gave them the gate code to lock up when they were done. I hauled it out of there quick, so they were gonna make sure tonight, since it's been the second consecutive night I've had that come. Different officers this time. I am at another stop, about 5 minutes out from the house. Just letting you know I'm not dead, and I'll be back soon. Give me a few to get home and settle in. I'm now in my own bed at home. I told my parents I'll tell them everything in the morning. It's easier for me to type it than actually speak it right now, for anyone wondering. There was nobody in or under my car, so I'm all clear there. Also, I barely looked out the front windshield all the way home. I was pretty much glued to the rearview mirror, seeing if I was being followed, but I didn't have a single car even remotely near me the whole way home. No doorbell at the house, no banging, no nothing. My dog barks at anything, even us, so if anyone or thing of any kind came near the door, we would know. It looks like I'm safe tonight. This has been one hell of a ride. I am going back in the morning, so check for a new thread tomorrow. Even if all is well and fine, I will still post just to give you all closure. It will probably be around noon, Texas time. That way, I'll sleep in a little and be sure neighbors will be up and about to deter any more occurrences. It's OP here from last night, for my last checkup on the house. I'm out front in my car at the moment, and nothing seems unusual. I didn't want to come back, but the daytime makes it seem safe enough. I just walked in the back door, after looking around the backyard for a few minutes. The garage door was still open, and I peeked in just to find nothing once again. I also heard nothing last night, so I don't think it wants to bother me specifically. It just likes the house. I started doing some vacuuming when I noticed something strange in the kitchen. The string from the night before is gone. Now, this scared me initially, but I was thinking it might have come off when I came in the back door this morning. I didn't think to look for the string right off the bat. I looked around on the back porch and all in the kitchen to see if I inadvertently dragged it in somewhere else when I came in. But then I looked at the front door. No string. Now, it could have possibly come off when I opened the door for the cops last night, and if it was now somewhere in the front yard, chances are I would never find it. Here is the part that truly has me scared. The string for the sealed door is gone. I have no reasonable explanation for this. It is just gone. I didn't touch it, and there's no way the dogs or cops touched it. The cops never came in, but I might be regretting that decision now. This leaves only one possibility left. Either it found a way in last night after I had left, or it has had access into the house this entire time, and I have been unaware. This is raising so many questions. I'm going to keep looking for the string and look for any possible explanations for what is going on. I'm looking all over the house and I can't find anything. I'm about to take out the trash, and then I'm considering just leaving. I don't think it's worth me staying here until they get back. I've already left a few messages on their phone this morning. I just stepped outside to take out the trash when I saw something that made my heart sink. The gate door that protects the sealed door was wide open. Now, this second door had been unlocked since I first checked on it in the back a few nights back, but I'm almost certain that it was tightly shut, so it was unable to be opened by the wind. There is a slight chance that I'm wrong and it opened by itself, but even the wind, I don't think could do this. Plus, I checked the entire backyard when I showed up here, and it was closed. But this alone is nothing compared to what I found upon investigation. I walked to the door, dreading what I was going to find. As I slowly approached the door, I found something that I cannot explain. The string, all 3 pieces, hanging on the door. This was not there when I initially arrived, so whatever has been doing this is still here, watching. Even more frightening, a key was in the lock. I turned it, and the door was far from sealed. It opened with ease, so why would I be told that the door was sealed? They have said it has been for years, and I've known these people all my life, and also I have watched their house for years without any incidences in the past. But this leads me to my final questions at the moment. Why hasn't it come in when I've been here? Or even worse, has it been coming in this entire time? What if it has been freely coming and going, watching me sleep every night since I've moved from the room that it could clearly watch me? Nothing has been stolen either, so does it simply like to watch? Does it get off on seeing me in fear? I am awaiting to hear from the owner shortly. I'll keep you updated. OP here. Sorry it's been a while. Their plane landed and they called me after hearing my message. Give me a few minutes to type things out, and then I'm going home. They'll be home in about an hour and a half, and I don't want to be here that much longer. Their phone call was far from comforting. The family called back and asked what was up since I didn't give them too many details in the messages I left. I talked to the wife and told her about what was happening leading up to today's events. They had no prior knowledge of any stalker-type figure, and they haven't encountered any issues like I've been having at the house. Then, I asked about the back door and it being sealed shut, like they told me years ago. She told me that they haven't used the door in years, and they're not even sure where the key to it is anymore. They had 2 keys originally, one of which broke off in the lock a number of years ago. The other one went missing. She said that she must have dropped it outside or something. She wasn't quite sure where it was. She said that was at least 3 years ago. They never changed the lock since they never used the door, and haven't had any reason to replace it. They said they would let me know in the morning if anything weird happens, and they will drop off my money in the morning. She really didn't seem too worried. I don't think she fully understood or believed everything I told her, but I have the key now, and that's the only door that the key works with. The garage door is still a mystery. I'll leave it on the counter for them, and I'm about to leave. Maybe the key in the door with all the string was the Watcher's way of saying he was done here. Has he had that key since it was originally lost? I don't know. I may never know. I'm going back to the safety of my own home and hoping this is all over. I'll stick with this thread until all interest is lost. But I doubt I will hear of any new occurrences. Thanks for those who stuck with me. It helped me keep my sanity.
Moved into a house in the outback in South Australia in 2005. Pretty much every single person living in our street had only lived there for under 5 years, apart from an elderly couple that lived at the end of the street. This elderly couple had lived in the street for 40 years and raised their children in the street. They said strange things happened in the street, and a lot of people can't handle it and leave. They never really went into what scared people, just saying the whole street was haunted or something like that, but they did say it only started happening in the early 90s. First experience I had was a week after moving in. I heard a low-pitched humming sound coming from outside my bedroom window. When I looked out, I saw this tall black figure with long arms and long fingers, with no facial features. He was slightly transparent. He was backed up against the wall holding up the garage area of my house. Due to its height, he had to hunch over. I was looking out for around 5 seconds before it realized I was looking at it. It turned its head towards me, and I quickly ran away from the window and told my parents. My dad went out and saw nothing was there. I sketched what I saw, pic related. I started hanging out with the neighborhood kids. We were all teenagers, and they told me their stories, and all described the same figures I had seen. One of the kids was Aboriginal, and we would go visit his grandfather a lot. He called the entities Mayamuya, which translated roughly to stranger man. He said that the Aboriginals in the area had been dealing with them long before the arrival of Europeans, and said that they weren't of this land, which kind of meant they didn't belong there or weren't native to there, and that they would take children away and eat them. He said that the Aboriginals cast them behind the creek, but since the creek partially dried up, the Mayamuya had once again been able to get into this town. The town that I lived in was built directly over the previous Aboriginal settlement. This Aboriginal tribe wasn't nomadic and had remained in a small area for over 1,000 years. One day, me and my friends were playing cricket out on a flat patch of desert in between the road and my house. The sun was setting, and as we were packing up our stuff, we noticed that there were people off in the distance approaching the road. The closer they got, the more details we could see, and we noticed that they were fully black, tall, and weren't walking, but floating. We could also hear a low-pitched humming sound that got louder the closer they got. We bolted back to my house and told my parents, but my parents once again didn't believe us. I hassled my father enough to drive down on his motorbike to the area we saw them approaching. After 9 minutes, he came back to the house, visibly shaken, saying he saw them, and that I wasn't to go down there anymore. Every time I tried to get details on what happened, he would always change the subject. One night I was coming home from a party with my friends, and as we passed the empty lot in the street, we saw these two small figures sitting on tree stumps, just staring at us. One was bigger than the other, and once again we heard a low-pitched humming sound. We were all high as fuck, and were just standing there, laughing, think we were tripping, until we realized that we were all seeing the same exact thing, and we couldn't all be hallucinating the same thing. One of my mates took a step towards the one closer to us, and when he did, it made this very deep growl. I had never heard anything like it, and to make a long story short, we screamed and ran to my house. I'm mentioning this because unlike the tall figures I had seen, and I'd see them a lot at night, these things were completely physical and not transparent. They were shaped like babies, but didn't have a neck. Now, this is where shit heats up. There used to be a group of kids that would take their dirt bikes beyond the creek and would go riding way out in the desert. One day, they didn't come home, and everyone assumed they had just gotten lost. They were found a week later, all 5 of them. They were alive, with no food and no water out in the Australian outback for a week. What scared me was what one of the younger kids' brothers had told me. He said that his brother had said that they saw a light out in the desert, and they felt compelled to follow it. He said he felt like he was in a trance, and they didn't stop following this light for the entire week they were out in the outback. He said no matter how far they kept traveling, they didn't seem to get anywhere close to it. He said if the farmer that found them hadn't have found them, they never would have stopped following the light, and eventually would have died. Anyway, getting to the final part of the story, so my mother had gotten sick of me being scared all the time and called our sister who lived in Adelaide to come visit. She's a psychic or something. So she comes down, and the moment she pulls up, she tells us not to tell her anything about what we have seen, and she's going to wander around the street for a while and come back and tell us what she saw. When she came back, she was visibly shaken. She told me that these things were unlike anything she had ever experienced, and that she had also run into the spirit of an old Aboriginal woman. The woman told her that her tribe were a split-off group from the Tharawal, and came to the area that would become the town I lived in to escape the Mayamuya. But the Mayamuya followed them. The woman then showed her horrific images of these things slaughtering Aboriginal children and eating them through a small slit in their mouth. The woman then told her she drowned herself in the creek so she would act as a spiritual barrier to keep the Mayamuya out. She said this worked until a pyramid-shaped pathway was built facing the way the Mayamuya had come from. This allowed them to come in once again, not the fact that the creek had dried up. The Aboriginal woman led my auntie down the path to show her something even more terrifying. After eating the small children, they would rebirth these kids to be their minions or some shit. My auntie said these things were completely physical and live out in the desert, and sometimes come into the town for food. She said these things are harmless and mainly just keep an eye on people for Mayamuya. My auntie became confused, and said if they were killing children just to make them into spies, then what was their motive in the first place? It was explained to her that the Mayamuya just seemed intent on inflicting pain and suffering on people. She said that they rape women and men alike, make women miscarriage, cause accidents, and kill the weak. Despite this, they seem to have a very personal vendetta against the Aboriginal woman's tribe, and seem intent on wiping them out. This is why they remain focused on the town. My auntie came to the conclusion that the Mayamuya aren't human spirits and aren't spirits at all. She believed that they were a physical reproducing race of beings that are most likely aliens. She said she had heard of similar beings all around the world. After hearing all of this, we put the house on the market and began preparations to leave. A couple days before we left, I went on one last motorbike ride where my father had told me not to go. While riding along the dirt path, I saw this rock on the side of the path. It was weird because it looked like it was smoothed down a bit and had some markings on it. I don't know if it's related at all to what had been happening. I personally think it's someone playing a joke because none of the engravings on it are Aboriginal, and the engravings on it are all over the place. Anyway, I took it with me when we moved, pick related. So yeah, this is my experience with the paranormal. Thought I'd share it with you all, and it'd be great if someone else had any experience like this that they could share.
OP begins answering questions that other users have, either debating story details or verifying his actions. But the beings that OP described ends up evoking reactions from other users. Apparently, OP wasn't the only person to witness these things. I live in Alaska, and I used to see these things in my backyard for years before I moved. They would always be hiding behind trees and shit, and I could only catch little glimpses of them, like moving behind a tree so I wouldn't see. I have so many stories of these damn things, and it freaks me out that they get into your house. They used to mess with me from the time I was like 6 years old, but I haven't seen them in about 3 years. It's probably not just exclusive to one location. I've posted quite a few stories about them, but no one ever seems interested. Last time I saw one was when my son was just born, and I woke up in the middle of the night to him whimpering, and I look over, and there is this tall, dark shadow standing over his crib. It didn't have a neck, and its arms hung almost to the floor. I must have made a sound or something because it looked right at me, hunched its shoulders like it was trying to scare me. Then, it kind of disappeared. That's not the first time, but I hope it's the last. Sorry if this is all jumbled up. I'm shaking trying to write this all out. This picture really fucks with me. The same user goes on to describe his experiences. First time I ever saw anything paranormal, it was one of these. For years after that, they kept fucking with me, and I started telling my sisters about the tall man, how he could look into second-floor windows, and that's why we needed to keep the windows covered up at night. I almost forgot that until now. 6 years old, live in a trailer in the middle of the woods, laying in bed with my mom because I had developed a fear of the dark and severe insomnia. The way her room was laid out was that the foot of her bed was pointing toward the master bathroom door. Bathroom door was open. Nightlight thing was on. Mom and I are talking about spiritualist stuff. I start to feel really weird, and the air gets weird, thick. Out of the corner of my eye, I see exactly what is in OP's picture, yet half hidden behind a door. No facial features, long arms, just pops around the corner and stares at me for about 3 seconds. I ask my mom if there was anyone in the bathroom. She says no. I shut my eyes and throw the blankets over my head, and I'm just crying hysterically. Now, I have a phobia of open doors at night. And the most fucked up thing is that it's not just these guys that are messing with me. I mean, maybe some of it I can understand that I'm being paranoid. And I still have insomnia, and I absolutely cannot sleep without having a movie or podcast with headphones in. I have sleep paralysis at least twice a week, with and without the shadows. I just feel like I'm going crazy, and it's having a really bad effect on my life in general. 6 months ago, have one of those loft bunk bed desk things, cause I'm sharing a room with my son at the time. His bunk bed levels with mine across the room. Wake up. Get that nasty, static, thick noise air bullshit going on. Instant anxiety. I know I should check on my son who's asleep, but I absolutely cannot bring myself to turn over to look across the room. After a battle, I finally managed to turn over. There are shapes on my son's top bunk. He sleeps on the bottom, and they are like liquid moving, like rising and falling. I freeze and just stare, zoning out completely. I hear whispery but loud voices, like far away in my head, telling me to talk, but I can't. I put another podcast on, turn over and try to fall asleep, and not 5 minutes later, there is a laughing and kind of growling sound. I can feel this thing standing beside my bed, just watching me. Blankets start to tug at the foot of the bed, reverting back to a kid, that nasty dread ball in the pit of my stomach feeling. Fight or flight kicks in, and I start thrashing and kicking on my bed, just moving around as much as possible to scare whatever it is away. I tell it to go the hell away, whatever it is. Flip open my laptop for light, and duck my head down in case it isn't gone. Basically, fall down the ladder and flip on the switch to the light. Whatever it is gone now, and I leave the light on and the door wide open. I turned on all my lights in the house that night and stayed up watching movies. With this poster's information, it causes someone else to post a link from an alien discussion thread from 2010, and the users on this forum describe their experiences with rather similar events. When my 35-year-old son was 15, he and a mate and our dog went camping in the Riverland of South Australia. They had set up camp late afternoon, lit a fire when nearly dark, and were cooking a meal when they saw a very tall, 7 to 8 foot black thing walking towards them. Scared the wits out of them and the dog. They dropped what they were holding and left everything and ran across the golf course to get home as quickly as they could. I opened the front door to urgent pounding, and in they almost fell, pale, out of breath, so much so that they couldn't talk properly. I was shocked to see my son in this state because he was always a calm, level-headed, not much to say type of person. On telling me what had happened, I didn't question them at once, as seeing him in that state was enough for me to lock all the windows and doors and hope that the thing hadn't followed them home. He was the most skeptical person on the planet. On questioning them, to rule out the possible normal explanations, they said they felt like they were in danger. The impression on them was it had a purpose walking straight at them, and the dog was growling with its fur raised, which made them run. It came from the direction of the lake, and it made no sound, as in walking on leaves or small sticks that are everywhere. I told them that it was probably a person in a wetsuit coming from skiing, but they said they would have heard the boat. They were positive it was nothing ordinary, that it was too tall and too skinny, and it made no sound. They did not see a face. The next morning, I rang my brother-in-law to come with us to pick up their gear, if it was still there. Gear was exactly as they left it, and we looked for ages and found no footprints. To this day, my son refuses to go camping. With all of these descriptions being laid out, the similarities can be disturbing. However, the list of Australia's reported cryptids seems infinite. With all of these details and stories over the years and images being posted, there is one possibility that needs to be remembered. They're just lying. On January 19th, 2022, I shot myself in the head while on 300 micrograms of LSD. Hello everyone. A little background. I'm just a guy in his early 20s who has had a major polysubstance addiction since I was 14. I tend to mix substances of all sorts, including Z drugs like Ambien with alcohol and Xanax. Extremely dangerous combos for most, but for some reason, my body has always been able to handle it. But that is besides the point. I have been a heavy LSD user all my life. When others say to quote-unquote hang up the phone when the message is heard, I tended to like to force myself back into pure nightmare trips on purpose, each time feeling stronger and stronger as I can literally ignore the terrible things that go on around me while I am tripping. I have over roughly 550 heavy LSD trips under my belt, and one time in particular forever changed my view. Before we get into it, I am going to answer some obvious questions. Question 1. You were on LSD. Are you sure you didn't trip yourself out into thinking you actually pulled the trigger? Answer. Yes, I am absolutely sure. I have genuinely been doing LSD multiple times a month for a very, very long time now. I know the difference between genuine disconnection from reality and what I actually did. I also have done DMT, 4-HO, and a plethora of other tryptamines and RC chemicals. I am extremely used to this headspace to the point where I don't even laugh or do anything most other people do while on it. Nearly every single time, it has been by myself, reading and watching documentaries. On January 19th, 2022, I decided to take 300 micrograms of LSD while reading further into political and philosophical material, as I had been doing on trips for a while now. I also had decided to start listening to Russian number stations while on the material to see if there was any sort of interaction with ham radio and LSD. Into the trip, my life became a real nightmare scenario. This sort of thing has never happened to me. I have been on terror trips, but nothing like where posts on the internet began talking directly to me, mentioning things only something like the federal government or the CIA would know. All of a sudden, posts on Reddit, Twitter, 4chan, YouTube, etc., they all started morphing into what felt like purely satanic energy. I was seeing pentagrams and sigils forming from the channel icons, and other subliminal MK Ultra-like shit. The posts on the internet began talking about an alien invasion, saying things like, "We are here already," and I felt an actual gravitational attraction from outside, and even the images on the internet themselves started pulling me in. I have never felt this sort of thing, even on DMT, or any combination of MDMA with psychedelics or any other crazy mix that I have done. It felt like this thing attracting was interdimensional, and it had a pull to it. It was telepathically communicating, trying to convince me it loved me, or that it was God, and I needed to go into the light/gravitational pull. It felt like mind control. The internet was still working, but it was practically hijacked by this extremely malevolent force. I did not want to go down either choice it gave me because it felt like a trap. Both choices would lead to some sort of insane hive mind. So, I took the pistol that was at my desk. I always have a hollow point in the chamber. Trigger safety only, no other safeties. I put it in my mouth, and I pulled the trigger. Instantly, I saw my entire existence fill up with an extremely white bright light. I had no choice whether to go to it or not. It just consumed me. And next thing I know, after a millisecond of that white light, I was back at my desk, and things were literally going back to normal. The round was back in the chamber, but the gun was in my mouth like it was before, and I let go, and the evil force was gone. Mostly. Keep in mind that this all happened under an hour in my trip, so me going back to normal was not me coming down, because I was only 2 or 3 hours in by that point. After that, posts on 4chan started to try and convince me that I was literally the Messiah, or the Antichrist, over the next few days. literal bots sending me extremely personal info. Even after my trip, this would go on. I didn't buy it because I have seen others on 4chan, especially in the nobody threads, that claim to be the Messiah or some sort of savior. I am calm now, and life is honestly going good, comparatively for me, but it was definitely the weirdest thing of my life. However, to this day, I still occasionally see a 4chan post that is talking directly to me. It could definitely be some sort of advanced government AI attempting at thought prediction or something, so there's that. If you don't believe me, that's fine. I am not sure what to think anymore myself. Again, I have had trips on LSD where I have seen demons and aliens and other malevolent things, but never in my life did I ever feel an actual gravitational/telepathic pull by something from outside of me. It was absolutely terrifying. I am now a believer in quantum immortality. I have this experience, and tying back to my poly drug usage, I have literally done amounts of Xanax, Ambien, alcohol, Oxy, all together dozens of times. And I wake up fine on time in the morning, with maybe just a hangover. I also have been involved in dozens of close calls when it comes to cars, as I do Need for Speed in real life. Anyway, those are my thoughts, as insane as it may sound. If I was truly schizophrenic, I believe I would still be stuck in that sort of mind state, correct? But it went away in just hours. I will add that during the time that this invasive, evil alien force was taking over reality, I was listening to number stations, and an amateur radioist who was freaking out and literally crying on ham radio. I heard the fear in their hearts. They were all crying, saying it was revelations or the end of days, and to not go outside. I witnessed a mass NPC conversion when I was a kid. Dear X, have you ever had those sleepless nights thinking about the past? Do you ever try to roll back your memory until it fades out? I did this last night, and I accidentally stumbled upon my own memory of the past that I had forgotten about. Once I had remembered it, it really brought back the uneasiness I had. I also remember that after this event, virtually everyone who was involved became more hostile and directly wanting to bring harm towards me. I've pre-typed it all as I know it's annoying to wait things out. Here they come. Please let me know what the fuck this was. 2007 or 2008, possibly even 2006. Be young and on, between 11 and 12. Going to school as usual. Got teased, beat up, and treated like shit as usual. Typically a loser. For some reason, the entire school is called into a school-wide council or a meeting. Usually happens every week, but was called after lunch. I think it was due to a remark made to a very old teacher who had been there for decades. For the record, she was immensely lizard-looking, and this was before I knew anything about reptilians, but looking back, it seems incredibly obvious that she was not entirely normal. Back to this meeting. This means that a few hundred students were in the amphitheater, all facing the podium, which is elevated, so all can see who is speaking. This has a microphone and speaker system, like any normal school. Roll call was done. I thought this was unusual as it was after lunch, and this never happened in this way before. Suddenly, almost all teachers left, except for the most senior of each grade. At this point, I knew there was a problem with the school, and that we were all in for some kind of wide punishment/detention/moral lesson. Eventually, one of the senior teachers who was very close with the other lizard-like woman went to the podium, essentially lambasting the entire school with how much this incident hurt her and shit like that. Everyone is just quiet and facing her. We're talking hundreds of silent soldier-like people just facing her, except they are all just kids, myself included. But I remember looking at my peers, wondering why everyone was so fucking transfixed on this event. As I was doing this, I distinctly remember looking away in this moment, and I think it was enough to avoid the next action she would take, and this was the part that made me uneasy. She suddenly screamed into the microphone in a controlling voice that freaked me the fuck out. Attention! Suddenly, every single student stood at full attention. A distinct sound of shoes hitting the floor had actually echoed so much through the amphitheater that I was a bit scared at my non-attentive self, that I missed some key instruction that was vital to whatever was going on. Everyone stood silently as I looked up to see what the fuck that was. Everyone is just staying silent, watching her at the podium. I'm internally freaking out like everyone was told to do something that I missed. I just look at my friends, but they don't look back. Instead, they're fixated on this teacher who is seemingly commanding the entire school. This was a lot for my mind. After 10 seconds of complete silence, she then said, "Dismissed!" Everyone then immediately dispersed, but was exceptionally silent, and I immediately knew something was up. After approaching a friend, I asked him what the fuck just happened. He looked at me and literally said that he had no idea what I was talking about. Virtually everyone I asked had no idea what I was talking about, and the event was never mentioned again. From this point forward, essentially all bullying and targeting on me became significantly worse. I had to transfer to a different school, it was so bad. I instantly became an outsider to this group, and I never fit in again. Now, my questions are, what the fuck did I witness? Why did everyone do the same thing so attentively? Literally hundreds of people in synchronization that only I missed. Why did everyone deny what had occurred? And why it had occurred? This is not a joke, but it really came back all at once, and I immediately started typing this out for you. Maybe I had daydreamed it all. I have no one to confide in, as they have all disappeared from my life. Pick related is how I recall everyone standing after she commanded an entire school of students to do this, except me. Well, gentlemen, I'm drunk, and I feel this is about the only time I can really tell this story. So here it goes. In Afghanistan, Marine squad leader, on an extended patrol, basically sit out there and watch the surrounding desert, occasionally catch a few guys and placing IEDs. About 01:30, checking up on my guys to make sure they aren't falling asleep or if they need anything. Get to my last Vic. Guy in the turret says he's watching a group of about 5 guys walking to a compound in the distance on thermals. Grab thermals, get tapped onto them, and that's when it gets weird. Technically, they were colder than the surrounding environment. Weird. Keep eyes on since nothing else to do. Entire time, they are still heading to this compound in the distance. Get there. They spend about 5 minutes milling around outside. Looks like they go to the front gate a few times, but it's hard to see. Don't know how, but they got the gate open and then sprint right inside. Hear distant gunshots, call it in. Chain of command says check it out. Could be Taliban fucking up the locals. Get everyone up and ready, blackout conditions, and move to the compound. Rolling up on the compound about 500 meters away. See a kid book it out of the compound. Run straight out, happens to be towards us. I say fuck it, flip on the lights. He sees our lights, heads right for us, even faster than he did before. Gets to us, starts screaming at us, and our terp is flipping shit. Just as he got to us, 8 dudes came out of the compound and started sprinting towards us as well, still 300 meters away. So we pop a star cluster at them to get them to halt. Still running. 200 meters. Pop another. Kid is still babbling. Terp is screaming to shoot. Get on radio. Keep command updated. They hit 100 meters. Pen flare goes off. 50 meters. Command says it's my call. They are now in range of our headlights. All of them are covered in blood. I give the go-ahead. Too close to effectively use our 50s and marks, so thank fuck my turret gunners grabbed their saws instead. Whole squad has dismounted by then. Doc was checking the kid. 8 dudes getting lit up by 3 saws, and the rest of the squad mag dumping with their rifles. Needless to say, didn't take long since we were Marines, and we generally don't miss. Check the bodies, all unarmed but drenched in blood. More than could be accounted for with our 5-second one-sided firefight. Call it in. Head to check out the compound. Set up a cordon. I take the dismounts and terp up to compound. Terp is screaming to just level the place with an airstrike. Fucking terps. Always saying we should use way more than we should. Sometimes they're right. At the gate, not forced open, but there was body parts right on the inside. Looked like one person got ripped apart. Real nasty. Worse than when I saw a chick ripped in half from a mortar. guns up, clearing the rest of the compound. Everyone inside either has their guts ripped out, arms ripped off, necks torn out, or otherwise dismembered and dead. Call in what we found. Command tells me to stand by. Smoke a couple of cigarettes. Terp is asking when the airstrike is coming in. Command finally gets back and tells me that a special human exploitation team is coming out to assist. What? We've got a kid who's basically in shock and a whole bunch of dead bodies. Whatever. They want us to wait? We'll wait. Command also says not to go into the compound. Could be rigged with IEDs. Thanks for the timely intel, guys. We wait for about 45 minutes when I get a call from a helo asking us to mark a landing zone for them. Alright, I don't know why they couldn't just drive out here. Hope we don't have to drive them back to whatever base they came from after they're done. Helo shows up, lands, drops off 3 dudes, and then takes off. Hello, Corporal Anon. I'm Major so-and-so. Heard you had something interesting for my team. Give him a rundown of events leading up to the shoot order. Did you go inside? Yes, sir, we did. We conducted a full search of the compound. Found nothing. He gets quiet, goes over to the bodies, uses blue light on the flashlight to check out the bodies. Blue light makes it easier to see fluids, like blood and oil at night. He calls his 2 guys over, says a few words, and they drop their packs and start changing into military protective gear. Think rubber suits, rubber boots, rubber gloves, and gas masks, if you don't know. Tells me to just wait. More waiting. They go inside, spend 5 minutes, and then about 5 to 8 gunshots, real quick. Probably different people shooting simultaneously. Oh shit. Without thinking, I grab a couple of my guys and book it to the compound again, calling out for the major. Oh fuck, if we missed a spider hole or something and got them killed, we're fucked. I'm the first one in through the gate, and just as I got through it, one of the guys steps right in front of me and says everything is fine. They just had a negligent discharge. He also says they found an IED manufacturing room, and that we should leave since it isn't safe, and they're doing the same. What? Who the fuck just accidentally shoots off 8 rounds? And we sure as shit didn't miss something as big or important as IED components. They finish up. Helo comes back and picks them up. We head back to base, get redirected to a larger base halfway there. No explanation, just told to go and link up with the captain. Already exhausted, we get there at like 0800. As soon as we call in for permission to enter friendly lines, we get told to wait. Again. 30 minutes of sitting in front of this gate, waiting. Finally get waved through, and we are immediately directed to a staging area right on the inside of the wire. Guys are standing in protective suits, get told to dismount and shed all of our gear. Apparently, the major found evidence of possible chemical weapons in the quote-unquote IED factory, so we need to be scrubbed for exposure. We get shuffled off to some makeshift showers when we strip down, hand off all of our gear to dudes in mop suits that clean it while we get ourselves a nice freezing cold bleach shower in what amounts to basically a few tarps hung up for a semblance of privacy from the rest of the base. After it's all said and done, they had given every last bit of our gear and ourselves a full scrub. We got different vehicles since it would take them longer to do those, plus replacing the crew systems and other electronics in them. A few weeks later, we got sent on to some convoy op to a major base. Get told that the whole squad has to go to medical to check for any adverse reactions to the exposure from that night. Get our blood drawn. Then, nothing. Went on a patrol near where that compound was later on. Nothing was left but a crater. All the locals stayed away from it too. And that, my friends, is my story. I can elaborate on why I think shit was not on level due to minor details. You don't use bleach to clean up chemical weapons. That's for biological stuff only. But there it is. Mostly uncut, and from my perspective at the time. Another user comes into the thread later on. Human exploitation team. Anyone care to explain to those of us who aren't former service what this actually means? Interrogation, building trust with locals, and cleaning info. While most definitely fiction, I couldn't help but include this story. Before I get to these last 2 chapters, I need to emphasize that these are both graphic and disturbing stories, and a warning is prompted for those sensitive to murder and sexual assault. A warning will be provided once more for the later story. I used to know what you might call that kid in middle school. He always smelled like he shit himself, and he wore the same clothes for fucking weeks on end. That is, his wardrobe consisted exclusively of real run-of-the-mill generic pajamas. The kind where it's a completely solid color. The shirt buttons up and has a pocket for some reason, and there's a matching pair of jeans. He wore that to school, and he wouldn't take the fuckers off until they were fucking made of stains and smelled so bad that he actually noticed. He was your typical chubby, long-haired, greasy neckbeard, except it was the 7th grade, and he couldn't grow facial hair. Actually, that's not entirely true. He grew a really fucking weird thin mustache that was composed of only the barest number of hairs, but his upper lip always looked wet, so you couldn't help but notice that it was there. Anyways, he liked to bill himself as a quote-unquote video game programmer. The truth was, he could only program terrible text adventures in Visual Basic, and it was a damn miracle if they lasted more than 3 minutes, and weren't easy as shit. He bought these fucking games into school every other week, burned a blank CD-ROMs, and he would ask everyone to play them in the computer lab. They were your completely predictable, you wake up in a dark cell, or an alien spaceship, or in a forest kind of deal. Except for one that he brought in. That was different. That's not to say it was actually good, or even really an actual fucking game to be frank, but just that it stood out among his other releases. This one, he called Happy Mommy, and I am the sorry sack of shit that he insisted should play it. It started out in the usual command prompt window that his games always had, with the pointless ass beginning text asking me to type "go" to begin the game. Except this time when I typed "go," it didn't start out in typical text adventure style, telling me I woke up somewhere, and there's a useful item in the room and 4 directions. This time, it started out saying,
Happy, happy mommy. One day gone.
Just like that, in all lowercase. As was standard fare in this fucking weirdo's dumbass games. I wasn't really sure what the fuck to do at this point, so I asked him, and he told me to type in "mommy." So, that's what I did. And it returned.
Happy, happy mommy. 2 day gone.
Again, just like that. The S missing after day and everything. I didn't really know what else to do, so I typed in "mommy" again. This time I got
Happy, happy mommy. 3 day gone.
Now, I tried to type "mommy" again, but it didn't work this time. So I asked him what the hell I'm supposed to do now, and he said to type "feel good." So I did, and I got
Happy, happy mommy. 4 day gone. Happy mommy feel good. Happy mommy feel good.
and then it just closed itself. I went on with the rest of my day, completely fucking confused at what the shit he made me play. He came to school the next day, and that is the last time I ever saw him. Really spooky ending, I guess. The whole class was obviously wondering what happened to him, and all the teachers made it seem real mysterious and creepy, because they were real insistent that we don't fucking talk about it. No one found out what the hell happened for the rest of our entire school, from 8th grade to high school graduation, outside of the obviously bullshit rumors. Years later, long after I was a grown adult, I came back into contact with one of my middle school teachers, and we chatted up a bit about the good old days and all the assholes that went to my middle school. I guess because I was an adult, he felt more comfortable around me, even if he was still way older than me. So, I asked him, what the hell ever happened to that kid? Now, this next part, I swear to God, is not made up. Apparently, over the week before he disappeared, this kid's mom had fucking hanged herself. And since he was an only child, and she was raising him on her own, and no one in their neighborhood really knew them, no one fucking knew about it. And the kid just kept going to school and coming home to her corpse for 5 days. Finally, someone took notice of this and looked into it. And according to this particular teacher, this kid had been fucking his mom's corpse almost the entire time. I was never actually told what happened to him after Child Protective Services took him away, and I'm not sure anyone knows. Once more, I shall emphasize that this next story is graphic and disturbing, and a warning is prompted for those sensitive to murder and sexual assault. I used to be friends with a girl who had just a dozen or so movies that she liked on her laptop. She would watch them over and over and over again. Many of them were popular films with significant portions edited out. She had a friend cut out all the scenes featuring any violence or sexuality, no matter how slight, with very few comedic exceptions. And she didn't even consider anyone's recommendations of other films, even if that friend would have edited them. She reasoned that it was because she had only ever watched those dozen or so films, and wouldn't need more since she had the edited versions of them, and that she couldn't handle anything shocking unexpectedly. Needless to say, her other friends and I all found her strange and at times annoying to hang out with, but at least I can say that she was by far the nicest and most honest person I've ever known. We called her Angel for reasons that should be obvious. On the evening of October 31st, 2016, a group of friends went to hang out at a park that got pretty spooky after dark. Angel lived alone in a nearby apartment complex, so when we started getting cold and decided to go indoors, we went with her. Her apartment was largely unfurnished, with the notable exception of the bedroom. The floor was entirely covered by mattresses, and there were dozens of pillows, blankets, and plushies scattered around. There were several comfy armchairs facing the TV, which sat on a stool at the back of the room in front of the window. Next to it was her laptop, connected to the TV. This was where she watched her few favorite movies, and had made many of us watch them more than once. That night, the friend who had originally edited those films to her liking managed to convince her that we should watch scary YouTube videos. We stuck to obviously fake ghost caught on tape ones, which at least outwardly didn't bother Angel, and she said it was because she didn't believe in ghosts. An hour or so later, she said she was bored and wanted to put on Patch Adams. It was her all-time favorite film, with the edits of course. She watched it practically daily. We all had seen it at least once before. Not the most exciting film on a Halloween night, but she couldn't be talked out of it. At this point, my best friend and his girlfriend left, but the rest of us stayed because we weren't planning on actually watching it. We would just talk about ghosts or whatever. So she double-clicked on patchadams.mp4, and the film began. She was actually watching it, but she'd seen it 1,000 times, so she'd also talk over it about paranormal stuff with us. Her editor friend, though, seemed like he was having a hard time focusing on the conversation. After the part where Patch holds the skeleton and says, "I have a boner," suddenly, it cut to the scene in Imprint, where the girl hangs upside down with needles stuck in her gums. When she saw it, Angel screamed and backed up to the corner, hid under a blanket, and wailed in the most heartbreaking way I have ever had the displeasure of hearing. It was like she was mourning the death of a child or something. She just kept crying and moaning, no matter what we said. Even her editor friend apologized, saying it was a prank, and that it was just a movie too. Before we had started watching the YouTube videos, he had replaced the Patch Adams file with a new edit that included fucked up scenes from horror movies. But already, that first one was too much for Angel. Me and another friend decided it wouldn't be a good idea to leave her alone, so we stayed the night. She stopped crying eventually, but in the morning, we realized that she had pissed herself and was still shaking. We got her to drink some water, but she wouldn't say a word. Neither of us could stay, so we called her sister and told her what happened. Her reaction was like, "I'm coming, stay with her," but wouldn't explain why Angel was the way she was. The other friend left, and I waited for her sister, trying to get her to at least look at me, but she just stared into emptiness. When her sister came, she rushed to Angel and held her, I awkwardly left because I was already late, and after work, I called Angel's sister to ask if I could come by. She said it would be good, but I should be extra careful. I shouldn't even talk about what happened because it would only make her relive it. So, I went there, and her sister explained quietly that Angel witnessed a brutal rape and possibly murder when she was 7, and that she had to hide in a dumpster, which she stayed inside for hours in the pitch black darkness and had to walk home at night. Anything too shocking sent her mind back to that dumpster. She had never watched a horror movie in her life. That scene in Imprint sent her way over the edge. As far as I know, Angel never returned to normal. Last I saw her, she still wouldn't speak more than short childlike sentences and was like a little kid. I wouldn't say she seemed unhappy, but being her friend was too hard when all she cared about were coloring books and plushies, and she would talk to me like I was an older family friend or something, rather than a friend. It was like her memories of her friends were gone. Shortly after that Halloween night, her sister moved in to help her in her daily life. Her sister told me that she hasn't dared to watch Patch Adams after that. A prank ruined her favorite movie for her. Moral of the story? Some people might have a reason why they can't handle horror films. Thank you all for sticking along with this compilation of a video. I hope you enjoyed your stay. I'm your host, Time6, and this has been the Maverick Files. And lastly, please remember that the stories and information posted on 4chan are often artistic works of fiction and falsehood. Only a fool would take anything posted here as fact.